Well, hello tubers. I trust you're doing well wherever you are in this digital universe we call YouTube. Now today we're going to do something a little different because I've been diving into the deep vaults from the early days of my editing and figured I'd share something with you that probably many of you have not seen, but it is an example of how I learned how to edit the hard way. So years ago I bought thousands of dollars worth of equipment and hundreds of dollars worth of music licenses and decided to force myself to learn how to edit by producing a documentary called An Inconvenient Death of the Middle Class. Now you wonder, well, what's it got to do with the RV lifestyle? Well, a lot of the same people that were hit pretty hard when the economy collapsed years ago are still living in RVs in spite of the fact that the economy has changed a lot since those times. That's about the only segue I can really think of, which probably holds some truth. Now the good news about this crazy video is it was seen on its debut on Blip TV, which Blip TV is now long since defunct, but it was seen by about 300,000 people the first 24 hours, and it did, over the span of its lifetime, make me back all the money that I'd spent producing it, which was a good feeling. That was the success part of the story, I guess I could say. Now, since Blip TV has collapsed, I'm not even sure where the entire documentary exists, somewhere in one of my drives, but I cannot find it, which is probably a good thing. Now, this video is full of a lot of editing errors and bad missteps, but it did teach me how to actually edit. And it was fun to learn, and that was probably the best thing that came out of it. Oh, and a sad note, I have to tell you, I did license a lot of music from a great band from Baltimore called Fools and Horses. They no longer exist. Of course, their music still does. But to avoid any copyright hassles and dealing with the holders of the copyrights, and I'd have to spend about 30 days having them take down the actual copyright notice, I've actually swapped out their music for other licensed music, which I do have currently. So anyway, just to avoid any hassles and getting into a 30-day dispute with them, I had to do that. But the rest of the film stands pretty much the exact same. But you're only going to get to see the first 15 minutes or so, just for the hell of it. So without further ado, here it is, An Inconvenient Death of the Middle Class.
Why? It is a small word, but it is a quick, sharp, and abrupt word. Why? It is the chosen word of the nonconformist, the defiant, and the visionary. It is a confrontational word. Why? It challenges what's thought to be impossible. If you are not afraid to ask why, you can change whatever it is you want.
Hickory dickory dock, the mouse ran up the clock. The clock struck one, the mouse ran down. Hickory dickory dock.
He was my best friend, and we did everything together.
I trained him. I encouraged him.
We worked together every day, and we survived some pretty tough times.
We talked about everything. Everything except for what really mattered.
Tried to be there for him in his career.
He said he wanted to die. I thought he was just being dramatic.
I just wasn't there for him in his life.
I wish I'd recognized the warning signs, but I didn't. I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything.
In a suicide note left in an envelope for police, a 45-year-old man wrote that he killed his mother-in-law, wife, and 3 sons, ages 19, 12, and 7, over finances.
In it, the suspect alluded to having extreme financial difficulties and confessed that he killed his family because of those difficulties.
The bodies, including his, were found by police Monday morning in this upscale suburban home about 25 miles northwest of Los Angeles. All had gunshot wounds to the head. Police say the man wrote he had a graduate degree in finance but had been unemployed for several months. A neighbor from across the street, who said he didn't know the family very well, didn't seem overly surprised given the state of the economy.
I have come here tonight not only to address the distinguished men and women in this great chamber, but to speak frankly and directly to the men and women who sent us here. I know that for many Americans watching right now, the state of our economy is a concern that rises above all others, and rightly so. If you haven't been personally affected by this recession, you probably know someone who has. A friend, a neighbor, a member of your family. You don't need to hear another list of statistics to know that our economy is in crisis, because you live it every day. It's the worry you wake up with and the source of sleepless nights. It's the job you thought you'd retire from but now have lost. The business you built your dreams upon that's now hanging by a thread. The college acceptance letter your child had to put back in the envelope. The impact of this recession is real, and it is everywhere. But while our economy may be weakened and our confidence shaken, though we are living through difficult and uncertain times, tonight I want every American to know this. We will rebuild, we will recover, and the United States of America will emerge stronger than before.
It's alright. Yeah, it's alright. Call it amazing. You wanna do right by me. You know we are facing. Yeah, I wanna do right by you. Call it amazing. You wanna do right by me. You know we are facing. Yeah, you wanna do right by you. Call it amazing. Hey, call it
Let us not engage in the wrong argument at the wrong time between the wrong people in the wrong country, while the real problems of our time grow and multiply, fertilized by our neglect.
This bill will also stimulate economic growth by extending net operating loss rules and by granting some alternative minimum tax relief.
Why is it that you had begun unloading your stock pretty heavily before that date, and yet led the employees to think they should keep buying stock.
You can take the videotape to mean what you want it to mean. I was a supporter of Enron Corporation.
You know what happened to those people. They lost everything.
And we're expecting our children to pay the bills. We've made a decision to lower the living standards of our children and grandchildren and to soak other people around the world who don't have the money we do, by and large, to cover our self-indulgence. And I think it's crazy, 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 crazy.
We lose this house, we lose our dogs, it's everything, it's all we've got. We have no other place to go.
Lori and Richard paid cash for this fixer-upper 5 years ago, then took out a loan for repairs. With their expenses mounting, they decided to refinance their mortgage, but that's when their problems really began.
The day that we went to sign the papers, actually, they said something about, which I didn't understand, about raising us 3 points from the previous loan. But at the time, we were sitting right there, ready to sign the papers, pen in hand, when he said it to us, which I signed the papers. I thought that was the thing to do. I was a little ignorant.
Now Rich and Lori have a lawyer and are fighting off foreclosure. Their case is just one example of a bad situation that could have been avoided.
The committee has been told time and again by experts ranging from our witness today, Dave Walker, to Doug Holtz-Eaton at CBO, to Alan Greenspan, the chief threat to our nation's long-term fiscal health is spending.
What's next? I'll tell you what's next. The average family in this country is $9,000 in debt. The average family has 7 credit cards. That is a serious problem, okay? Because at some point, the average working stiff who's not in debt is going to have to pick up the slack for these morons who are in debt. The idiot who's out buying a new truck when he can't afford it. The idiot who's living in a house that he can't afford. The dummy who's buying new shoes to go to a job he doesn't have. You're going to pick up the slack at some point. Trust me. Does the government step in this? No. They step in and everything else. They step in and tell you to wear your seatbelt, right? They step in and tell you not to smoke around other people. They step in every time. Why aren't they stepping in? Why aren't they stepping in when the average family is $9,000 in debt and has 7 credit cards? Because that's what they want. They want the average family in debt because at some point they're going to own the average family, okay?
The Federal Reserve, like other economic policymakers, has been challenged by the unprecedented events of the past few years. We have been bold or deliberate as circumstances demanded, but our objective remains constant: to restore a more stable financial and economic environment in which opportunity can again flourish and in which Americans' hard work and creativity can receive their proper rewards.
He has no idea how bad it is out there. He has no idea. He has no idea.
Kramer.
I have talked to the heads of almost every single one of these firms in the last 72 hours, and he has no idea what it's like out there. None! And Bill Poole has no idea what it's like out there. My people have been in this game for 25 years, and they are losing their jobs, and these firms are going to go out of business, and he's nuts. They're nuts. They know nothing.
Kramer.
I have not seen it like this since I went 5 bid for 500,000 shares of Citigroup when I got hit in 1990. This is a different kind of market, and the Fed is asleep.
These are hardworking people whose hours were cut or the factory closed, who turned to a credit card to get through a rough month, which turned into 2 or 3 or 6 months without a job. These are parents who found, to their surprise, that their health insurance didn't cover a child's expensive procedure and had to pay the hospital bill. Families who saw their mortgage payments jump and used the credit card more often to make up the difference. These are borrowers who discover that credit card debt is all too easily a one-way street. It's easy to get in, but almost impossible to get out.
The Federal Trade Commission, the nation's consumer protection agency, has received over 8,000 complaints about credit counselors. Many concern high or hidden fees and so-called voluntary contributions that actually increase debt.
We have 3 financial deficits that are of concern and somewhat interrelated. We have a budget deficit, which we've talked about. We have a balance of payments deficit, and we have a savings deficit. There's absolutely no question that we're on an imprudent and unsustainable fiscal path. There's absolutely no question that our risk will increase over time. Nobody knows for sure when and if we'll hit the wall and how bad it'll be, but it is fundamentally imprudent to continue on our current path.
It's starting to feel like some old